Hey. Good evening everyone and welcome to Off the Line Racing. We are back once again for some more racing action. It is round 3 and of course what a better place to do it than Hungary. My name is Corey Brooks, I'm one of your two commentators for this evening. Join with me in the comms booth, it is Rob Starr.
Hello lad, are you ready for this round 3 of OTLR?
I am absolutely ready indeed. We'll take a quick look at the calendar to see what has surpassed. Oh no, why has it done that? Apologies, but I had it updated to the new graphic and it's not updated to the new graphic, which is kind of strange. But as you can see there on the display, we've done Italy, which was Oster, and we've done Bahrain round 2, and the winner was Josh B13X, and we're now on towards Hungary. It is 35 laps of 4.381 kilometres long, 14 turns, 8 to the right and 6 to the left. But we'll take a quick look at the drivers' standings now. as we take a quick look. Oster leading the charge in that McLaren, certainly getting himself up there in the points at the start of the season. Josh B had a bit of a rough one in round 1, but won round 2, which gets him nicely into P2 position in the Drivers' Championship. AMS 9 and the Mercedes looking mighty fine, holding that 3rd position, and PW Jones with that surprise podium in round 1 gets himself into P4. Lugi took the podium last race and he's just lurking behind on the same points as PW Jones, with his teammate Nick in 6th, Betsky in 7th, Tom H in 8th, Lanky in 9th, and Glitched Hen sat there in 10th. Glitched Hen and Tom H, both Ferraris, missed out round 1, but we're here in round 2, so it's nice to get themselves up into the drivers' standings already. On to the constructors, we have the mighty McLaren leading the charge, Oster with the most points there, pushing them to the top of the table, with the RBs being of Josh lurking behind. There's an 18-point gap between them, and of course AMS Knight and that Mercedes doing his best to get the Mercedes up into 3rd position. Williams looking to make a comeback with Lugi and Nick. Alpine in 5th with Kick Sauber in 6th. Ferrari and Haas doing the points positions, as the Aston Martin and the Red Bull are yet to score points. But we are just getting ourselves set up and ready now as we're about to head into the qualifying session. So it's nice to hopefully see what is to come.
Yeah, I cannot wait. It's Hungary, you know, it could be mixed conditions. You never know what could happen around this track.
Absolutely correct. Could be mixed conditions. Anything could happen, of course, especially around a track such as Hungary. It is twisty and tight, as it's been known to become, and also called a bit of a go-kart track with that format, the way you only have 2 DRS zones and only 1 detection point, which means it's a double dose of DRS. But don't let me keep you now as we move on to get into qualifying.
You know, it's definitely a one-stop around here. Mediums to hards and mediums. It is a tight track, but it's those of corners, you know, quite small.
Absolutely correct. It is a very short lap, only 14 turns, and that last turn giving you just before it the DRS detection for a double dose down the pit straight, and as you exit turn 1 and fire down to turn 2 you get that DRS zone once again. So there's only 2 potential places that could be in a good position for overtaking. 17 drivers on the grid right now. Oster and Josh, your 2 leading the Drivers' Championships, are not racing, which certainly does open the door for Lugi and AMS Knight to potentially come back and steal some almighty points that are needed.
Definitely, you know, it's definitely some interest. It's definitely gonna be an interesting race. But let's see what will happen. You know, in this qualifying, you know, let's see who comes on top, who comes on top again for race. You know, different pace everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I agree with that. It could be a bit of a mix-up here with Lugi and AMS Knight. AMS Knight, the Mercedes driver, just sat there in 3rd position in Constructors and in the Drivers' Championship, looking to score some mighty points that could potentially snatch a lead of the championship if he can take a victory here. If not, maybe get himself a good points position to keep the pressure on the front too. They're missing this race, so for those points that they are going to miss, certainly going to keep the pressure on them. I'll get us on board with Cam, who seems to be one of the first drivers out to give us a lap around the Hungaro ring here in Budapest. As he gets... Oh no, he's on an outlap, so he isn't the first. Who will be the first? The gold car, that'll be Andres. In the bit of a gold livery though. We are still running the world cars. Now, the world cars being the optimum car of choice, as we know the equal performance is not quite there, but we are still testing it, still being nosy, trying to figure it out and hopefully get the team cars back on the grid, but it all comes down to when the update's going to be released. There's still quite a lot of testing to go ahead to see if we can introduce the team cars back, but for now it's just not the way we're going to go.
Yeah, it'd be quite nice to get the team cars back, you know, easy coordination, time to like show you're proud of a car they're driving for the team, you know. But as you see here, Andres is on the hards.
It's on the hard tyres. It's quite interesting to see maybe testing the setup.
Probably give a test ride of a setup, you know. It could be mixed conditions. I think it is. I think it will be Inter to drive for the race, which I have heard.
Inter to dry.
So it's going to be a strategy for this race, you know. How will you, you know, take action to the rain and the wet at its mixed condition.
Agree with that. With it being a mixed condition race, if it is introducing that spicy bit of wet weather, it could certainly change the order around. Do people opt for a dry setup, knowing that it could dry later on in the race, later on in the stint?
I think go for the dry setup because it could be a safety car, and the more slower they take during the race, the dry weather will start coming closer and closer. So at the end, you would have that, well, should I say, that advantage at the end with that dry setup.
Absolutely correct. With it changing conditions, saying it does dry up towards the end, and everybody changes to the slick tyre, then they will have that advantage on the dry setup. But it all depends how the first stint goes out. Are the weather predictions correct? That's all we can hope to find out. Will it dry up? Are they starting on intermediate conditions? Are they starting full wets? We can just wait to find out. But Andres does a 17.8 as the banker lap to beat. Next across the line is Lugi, a 13.9. So straight away, Lugi set a fast flying lap, whereas Andres and Luke seem to be doing the double out lap, potentially getting some extra pace in there. But a 13.9 is a mighty lap to set in there from Lugi. As I said, keep an eye out for him. The two championship rivals are not up there in the field, so Lugi potentially being in the mix for a race victory.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. Lugi has been about top five, racing with them. But like you did say, the top two drivers ain't in this race. So maybe it's his chance to get a win and climb back up to that point. But then we see here Nick going faster so far.
Nick snatching that provisional pole away. It's only by 16 hundredths of a second.
Yeah, looks like we got well, should I say a rival
16,000, sorry.
A rival on our side, Nick and Lugi for this race. It's going to be quite interesting. These two. So it's definitely the ones to watch this race. During the race and quali.
Williams lockout. So it seems both drivers in the Williams team, although they're not in the team cars, could be a Williams 1-2 lockout with the way it's looking. Leon there is only 2 turns behind, so he's lurking within a striking distance.
Yeah, well, right now he's not pushing, but he might have enough fuel for another push lap. So let's see what he can do. Can he improve? Can he do better?
So we have quite a mix of drivers' pace here. We have 13s, 14s, 15s, 16s and 17s, and Tom H doing a 26. Could potentially be that double out lap that I spoke about as the rear wing is open and the battery is deployed. No flashing light on the rear of his Ferrari that looks like a McLaren. Gets the power down on the exit of turn 3 up towards turn 4. One of the corners that's very easy to run wide and invalidate your lap. And as well as you carry your speed and momentum around turn 5, brings you to the infamous little tight chicane of 6 and 7. A corner that if you hit those sausage curves will send your car flying. Now as he gets the power down towards 8 and 9. Looking fairly clean so far. 9 on the exit is a corner you can invalidate fairly easily, as well as 10 and 11. Easy to hit that run off though, as you get that extra bit of track while you're trying to carry all that momentum. And he slams on the brakes into turn 12. It's a bit of a right angle turn, being the right hander and swinging it round the long U-bend left hander. And then once again, oh no, he's running out of it wide though. He's going to go into the pits. Bit of an issue. Not happy with that lap.
Definitely not. But there's still some other times, to do another lap. Still got some to do. But this is probably a waste of a tyres though. So you don't want to waste tyres on a lap you can't do well on, should I say.
No, that's absolutely correct. He's going to preserve that rubber, preserve those tyres, maybe use them later on in the race if needed. Doesn't want to burn away too much of the rubber that he could use in the stints. But as we have just under 11 minutes remaining in quali, we have PW Jones on an out lap, a man who's taken a podium position in round 1, getting himself some nice points for him and his team. He's just warming up those tyres, getting himself ready to set a flying lap.
Well, right now, AMC Knight, who's been on the top, he's across the line. He might grab pole. No, he's invalidated it. No, I'm not sure what happened actually. No, he has come fourth. I didn't see that. Sorry. But he has gone up to 4th, so he's up there on the grid, shall I say. He's up for that top 5 like he was in the previous races.
Yeah, AMS Knight, like we say, one of the drivers to potentially watch out for. Could potentially get himself into a bit of a mix, a bit of a fight, as he's lurking in P3 in the driver's standings, keeping the Mercedes team P3 in constructors. So it's looking good for AMS Knight at least. We're currently on board with Andres, who was improving by 2 tenths out of first sector. He's now about to finish his second sector. He's only sort of improvement. He's a second up on his time. So massive, massive improvement for Andres 91.
Yeah, he's almost soft tyres now, so you can actually see how much of improvement, how there's a hard compound tyre to soft compound, and you can see the grip, how it's working around this track.
Absolutely gets that rear wing open for a 16.1, so almost 1.7 seconds up on his time. Just shy of 1.7 seconds. It's a good lap to get himself up top of the 16 runners.
Yeah, well, right now Luigi Big is improved in the sector 2 by 2 tenths into the final sector now, going through the last 2 corners now, goes a bit wide, keeping it nice and interesting into the final corner now. Can he get a good run out of that corner? Gets a power down, but DRS open, burning my ERS, goes across the line and gets pole by 2 tenths. Looks like he really wants to dominate the field there.
Just shy of 0.24 up on his time, so almost 2.5 tenths up improvement. It's all down for Nick and Leon. Can they scratch that time? Leon is a 10th up, but he's going to need a bit more than that through the second sector if he's got any hopes of trying to mix up the Williams strategy. Oh no! Big super snap there, but he did get a purple sector 2. Could be a personal best. Did he manage to save it in time though, or has it cost him too much time? I think he may have backed out of it there. It was a huge snap coming out of turn 11 and managed to catch the car very nicely indeed. Wow! That was interesting.
A big one. But it really shows he's got the pace. But he pushed it a bit too hard, and then boom, snap. But he can control the car nice and well, and he can still do multiple laps.
Absolutely correct. We see Nick improving by just under a tenth as he finishes first sector, and now puts the power down around turn 5 and gets to that horrible bit of a chicane 6 and 7. You don't want to take too much care. A bit of a lock up there, tyre small, but he's keeping it nice and well. Now he needs to try and keep it on the track through 8 and 9. 9 you can use that, you can hit that run off and it'll invalidate your lap. Comes around 10 and 11, same again as turn number 9. With that huge run off area, very easy to run wide and get off the track. He's still only up by the same amount of time, just under a tenth. So he's 75 thousandths up on his time as he comes around turn 13. Sorry, a bit of a wobble though. He's going to dive into the pits. He's not happy with that lap. Rather change out those tyres and potentially try again. 7 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. See AMS Knight on an out lap coming around turn 13 now. We're heading towards turn 14. Will he set a lap?
He's going to set a lap on the next lap, so he's about to cross the line. He's got that ERS crossing on. It looks like he's ready to go on a push lap. He's on a flying lap right now. Turn 1, what can he do? Goes nice and tight. Don't touch the curve, that's what you don't want to do. Down to turn 3 now. Bit of a lock up there, as you can see some tyres smoke. To turn 4. As MV1 has gone pole so far by 50 milliseconds.
Hordo taking it by half a tenth though, just getting himself up into contention for a pole position here in Hungary. We're still on board with AMS Knight as he comes around 6 and 7 now. Keeps it nice and bonny, not too much curve on the exit. Coming around turn 8. Turn 9's the one you need to watch out for, carrying too much speed and running it wide. Almost ran it a bit wide there. Maximum use of track limits. And again, coming on the exit at turn 11, keep it on the track as he does very nicely. Purple sector 2, 2 tenths up on his time. So will he break the 13s? As it stands, it's potentially not going to happen. He needs all the improvement now as he comes around turn 13. Can he keep the power down through 14? You just got to ease off and let it coast around, let it roll around and maintain all that momentum as he opens that rear wing, and it's just shy of a 13. It's a 14 flat. Well, we see CRE Detto jumping up into the 13s. It's a 13.9 for him. Up into P3. Looking fairly good indeed, getting himself certainly into a position that he could snatch a podium, if not a race victory.
Yeah, you never know, Right now we're seeing their quali pace, you know, their fastest, overall in one lap. But we don't know the race pace at all. How long can they keep it for in a race?
Absolutely correct. We're currently on board with Leon, who's coming through the first sector just to finish, 2 tenths up on his time, so he will break the 13s as it stands. Leon's, a bit of a controlled slide there, managing to save the car well, catching it well as he gets through 6 and 7 now. Coming around turn 8 and again onto the infamous turn 9, a place that could easily ruin your race or ruin your lap if you run it too wide. Picking up too many track limit warnings. Again in turn 11, took a bit too much curb there and caught it well once again. Dropped some time though with the few moments that he's had. Comes around turn 12, getting the power on towards turn 13. It's all coming off in this Hungary qualifying session. People really trying to push it to the limits as Leon looks for that 13th time, but backside of him goes into the pits. Still 4 minutes, he can swap those tyres. He can get on another lap. He does have the time and hopefully has the set of tyres. So everybody now darting into the pits by Grelis. Grelis is on an outlap, so he's looking to skip that queue, that huge influx of drivers looking to fill the track, trying to get themselves out there and set what could potentially be that pole position at time.
Yeah, look at the, should I say, top seven. Top seven are looking very close. It might have a big gap, but those gaps are kind of close between each other, especially 7th and up to 3rd. That gap is within 2 tenths.
Currently on board with Andres in that gold world car. They are running the world cars, as I've said before, due to the unknown area of equal performance known in the team cars. We still are not 100% sure if they are ready to rock and roll with equal performance, but Andres looking to improve on his time. It's a 15.7 as he comes around turn 13 now, looking to get all the momentum he can, but he dives into the pitch. Does he have the time to come out and go again? Such a short lap. I expect he will have the time to go again, like you say. I mean, only like 113 pole position time, average 150 in a lap, everybody on full push. So, final few minutes of qualifying, everybody coming out to set their final flying laps, looking to what could potentially snatch away pole position. Provisional pole position starting from the front and hopefully avoiding all that turn 1, lap 1 chaos that is yet to come into that harsh turn 1. It is a slam on down into 3rd gear and fire it round to the right hand side and make sure that you don't get collected in the influx of cars. 18 drivers on the grid heading towards that turn 1, so you've got to be mighty careful.
You really do. But this track's kind of dangerous for its curves, you don't want to ride it or anything like that. You want to be gentle, gentle with throttle. But one mistake, your car's gone round the corner.
Absolutely correct. One mistake, one little slip up, and you will send your car into the fateful barriers or off the track and get yourself collected in the mix. It all depends on how you control your vehicle as we go flat out now on board with Grelis into turn 1.
I've just seen somebody been into a wall. That was very shocking.
Yellow flags as we come round, and Grelis is just about to pass. The driver's got himself going again. Do we know who that is?
I'm not sure. It was in a powerful car. I'm guessing it was DJK81 maybe.
Grelis
Yeah, it was.
up by a 10th on his time. 1/10 improvement so far from Grelis out of Sector 1. Can he improve any more? That's what we're waiting to find out. He come around turn 10 and around turn 11, keeping it just on the track, just within track limits.
Should we forget about Grelis here? Because Nick might grab pole here. He did have a purple Sector 2. He was improving by 3 tenths. He could go across the line. I don't know what he can do, but he might.
Just missed out by half a 10th.
Lukey's big behind as well. Improves, but it's not enough.
Well, Lugi retires on the track.
That's a penalty coming his way.
Bit of a naughty there from Lugi, retiring on the track. But as it stands, Hodor, the pole sitter, MV1, absolutely sending it. And he's up on his time as he's coming through third sector now, getting it round turn 12 nice and cleanly, sending it round turn 13 steady as she goes. He's looking like it's a nice pole position for MV1. First race, pole position. Nice to see it, lovely to see it. Can he keep it towards the line though? Improves, it's a no 13.5, so he is almost 1.5 tenths clear of Nick. Does Nick have the ability to go in? He does not, he's not setting his lap. AMS Knight, could AMS Knight respond in any way? He was up on his time, but it was an invalid time. Who's next across the line? It won't be Nick.
Maybe it's Dynamic Duo.
Dynamic Duo down in P12. It
Improving
certainly
by
will
10.
be. He's the 10th up on his time, looking to come and finish the lap, set the lap. Hello, Bob John. Nice to see you in the Twitch chat. We are also on the TikTok, so get yourselves over there and follow that TikTok channel. We'd like to get it growing. Dynamic Duo crosses the line and only improves by 1 position and improves by just under a tenth on his lap.
PW Jones might be
Andres crossing the line up into 15th. Tom H in 7th.
What can PW Jones do? He's up to P15, gets that position back from Andrews. But I think that's qualifying good. I think everybody's now going back into the pits.
Oh, D Summers is going to cross the line, although he's not setting a lap. I think that will do our qualifying standings. MV1 taking his first pole position here. Nick in second and Lugia once again getting himself on the second row in the qualifying. So it's nice to see such a consistent driver. The Williams looking fairly good. It's one driver on the front row and another driver on the second row. So could it be podium lockout here for the Williams drivers, getting those points and potentially taking the constructors' charge?
Yeah, with a work together, you know, but Ordo, or should I say MV1, first race and's got pole. So he seems quick, but we're missing the other 2 contenders who are on the top of the standings right now. So when they get back, it'll be a good battle between those 3.
Well, it's nice to see Luigi trying to put the pressure on. He got that podium last race. He's looking like he could potentially get a podium again this race. With his teammate, will certainly put the pressure on the constructors. But MV1 taking a first pole position, looking good for victory, showing some amazing pace. P1 down to P9, all within a second. That DRS train could be looking good as Nick's in second, Luigi third, CRE Dettel in fourth, AMS Knight in fifth, Leon in sixth, Tom H in seventh, Luke in eighth, DJK in 9th and Beatty Ghost in 10th. So there's your top 10 now as we get ourselves back to the main screen. We bring you back to the camera screen for just a moment while the lobby gets reset and restarted. As everybody knows, you can use all your tyres. I forgot about this, but the lobby will be restarted. We do have the mandatory lobby reset. So what do you think of that qualifying? Certainly does introduce a spicy mix of drivers. Lugia, again, could potentially put pressure on the standings, could potentially put pressure with his teammate in constructors, but without the front 2 driver standing leaders, being Oster and Josh, it's anybody's game this race.
It really is, you know, it's that pressure on that new car thing, should I say. You're in that car for the first time in this league, you've got to show what you're made of and try and win it, whilst you've got other quick drivers behind you trying to steal that win.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's got to be a close one, you know, between all these drivers, but let's see what they can do in the race, you know, what can they perform, what can they do, what can they show.
I'm fairly interested to see where AMS Knight can get himself, especially into that sort of area, that sort of mix.
But since it's going to be inter-competitions...
Yeah, we're just currently await for the drivers to retire so we can get the lobby restart underway and in effect. It's something that we need to happen because everybody gets the less likelihood of bugs, less likelihood of any issues to come within the race, keeps it a nice clean race going along the lines and hopefully gets everything working fairly well.
Yeah, gotta keep it nice and clean, no lobby glitches, so we hope everybody can enjoy their time racing, having fun, and trying to win.
Absolutely correct. So I will pull up the calendar once again, as I should have been able to update it. So there we can see we have Italy done, which was Monza Oster leading the charge and managing to get that victory away. But Josh, the rival in second place in the driver's standings, is looking to chase behind. So those two races are done and dusted, and we are here at the Hungary Ring for race 3. Next race being back in Italy for Imola. One of the races that could be known for wet weather. You've got to take that into account, as well as Spa. 3 tracks potentially could be soaking wet, as we have a bit of a wet start here in Hungary. Could potentially be wet in Imola. Don't know. We'll hopefully be graced by the dry weather, by the weather gods. In Spa, we can hopefully get a dry race. And then off to Austria, Spielberg, the Red Bull Ring. And on to Shanghai, China. One of my least favourite tracks, but it's that turn 1. That turn 1 that swings all the way around to the right-hand side. Can't deal with that in China. And then on to my favourite track, Saudi Arabia, Jeddah. Race 8. That should be certainly a spicy one to get yourselves in to watch and hopefully get some nice action going. Such a tight track. It's like just a faster flowing version of Monaco, if you would. The walls being ever so close to you. You've not a lot of runoff area. And then on to Abu Dhabi, Yas Marina, normally used as a season finale, but it'll be race 9 for us. On to Silverstone in United Kingdom for race 10, and then finishing it up in Interlagos, Brazil. So back onto the driver's standings. Just get a quick refresh in our heads. You can see there the 2 drivers leading the charge, Oster and Josh, not racing, but AMS Knight certainly is looking to get himself into a bit of a mix there. He's not too far behind, really not too far behind, only being 14 points away from that winning position, that P1 in the driver's standings. And then PW Jones in 4th after getting that surprise podium in round 1. Lugia looking to bring the Williams back on the charge with his teammate Nick. Lugia out-qualified by his teammate today. It was Nick to get P2 and Lugia in P3. Well, Betsky in the McLaren getting points on the board, but is he in a position to get some points on the board to help his teammate today as the Williams are coming strong in terms of constructors? Tom H is driving today in the Ferrari. Didn't do too bad in qualifying. I'm pretty sure he got like P7 around that area. So it could be another good points finish for the Ferrari driver. Lankit in P9 and Glitch 10 in P10. And there we look back at the constructors, the McLaren leading the charge. This is where Betsky now needs to cover off with his teammate. Not racing today's Oster, the McLaren's teammate. So Betsky needs to score the points and try and fend off the charge of the Williams that is coming. Certainly here in Hungary, they've got the mighty P2 and P3, so looking good. They're looking like they've got quite a lot of pace. RB's potentially couldn't score any points. We'll have to wait and see if there is a reserve driver in the V-Cab, or if the V-Cabs are driving today. But it could be a huge loss in points as the Mercedes AMS Knight driver is driving today. Got himself in P4 in qualifying, so could potentially score some nice and well-needed points there. Williams, again, second and third in this qualifying, looking to show some decent pace, potentially put themselves up in the constructors' standings, potentially take that first place away if they can score the right amount of points this race. And hopefully Betsky doesn't score that too many for his McLaren team. Alpine in 5th with the Kick Salbers, lurking behind, only 5 points separating those two teams, and the Ferrari 2 points behind the Kick Salbers, and then Haas with an 8-point gap. Aston Martin and Red Bull yet to score points. So the constructors, big flip on the head. You normally see a Red Bull at the top, but you don't. The Red Bull's struggling this season with points. So do you think it's still going to happen here with that? Rob, any idea?
Oh, it's equal cars, so it's all depending on the drivers, how will they work out, how will they, change it, different ways. But also, I've heard some news, it's going to be raining all race.
All race? Ooh.
That's what I've heard. So if you don't have your wet setup on, get ready for a nightmare of a race.
We have been told it is full into conditions, I believe. So we can only hope that is the way it's going to go. Those qualifying on a dry setup to get up in the order may have worked out for the benefit or do they have a wet setup to cover off around the Hungary ring and try and save themselves in a bad situation? A wet race is going to be mighty interesting, especially with how tight the track is and how twisty it is, and it's been known to be called a go-kart style track. Tight, twisty layout, 14 turns, so still a very short track, but only 2 DRS zones, but we might not even see DRS this race.
Yeah, we might not, but it's defo a higher setup around here, You always want to do 50-50 wings in the wet, but maybe a bit lower in the dry. But that DRS is going to be a bit of a problem, because there's no really overtaking spots around the track except for one straights. Because around the Sector 2 and Sector 3, it's all corners, and if it's going to be in the rain, it's going to be horrible, sliding, trying to catch a car, trying to overtake on those, those hairpins, the chicane.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think it's going to be the tight corners, the hairpin corners, where we're going to see the most overtaking potential moves. Corners like turn 1, corners potentially being like turn 12, maybe even around the outside of turn 13 and 14 if you feel brave enough. But I think we are almost ready for green, green, green. All lights will be lit on the grid very shortly as the drivers now ready up and we get done. From this little bit of an intermission, this little bit of a lobby restart that we do every race to prevent any game bugs or glitches that could potentially ruin our race. We know there's safety car glitches as such, so these restarts certainly lessen the risk of that. But I'm very excited for this, Rob. How are you feeling about this? You're looking forward to see who could potentially take victory? I suspect a Williams 1-2, but it all depends on how Hodor MV1 can defend.
Yeah, definitely going to be an interesting one, First race we've seen in the wet, so let's see what they can do and show what they can perform to us, because it'll be a first time, and we can acknowledge how quick some drivers can be in the different weather, Some drivers can be good in the dry, but the wet weather, it's defo a show you want to watch.
Absolutely correct. I've just switched us over to the racing screen as we now get ourselves ready and prepare. A little bit of a countdown clock timer on your screen, but it's not to worry. We shall soon see 35 laps of racing action in what could be full intermediate conditions, treacherous wet conditions. Will we see slick tyres? Will the rain stop, or will it rain the entire race?
Yeah, as we see here, clear rain. Clear
raining.
rain.
So that track's going to be greasy.
Defo going to take longer for these drivers, Defo more skill, because this track is about skill. How close can you keep it on the track by pushing the limits?
I agree with that.
This is defo a track you need to focus on through the corners, not what's around you. You need to focus in front of you.
High downforce certainly is going to be the setup of choice. Certainly the drivers will be high downforce. There's no way you won't be with the current conditions on the track. I think this is going to be one to watch. Very interesting. But now the drivers desperately changing those setups to try and acclimate to the current changing conditions. They was expecting potentially wet to dry, but now it is inters all race long. So we can only wait to find out what is to come. Will we see any chaos? Will we see any calamity? Will there be any troubles? We can wait and find out to see who is on as the grid is set. The lights are on. It's 3, 4, 5 lights. The lights are out and away we go. It looks like it's a good getaway from your race leader, Nick, lurking behind every car, getting away very nicely indeed. Doesn't seem to be. Nick is looking to potentially put the pressure on your race leader. Going to the outside line there, opens the door for CRE Detto, but doesn't get himself through. Nick is still trying to keep the pressure on. Luggate has lost positions, fell all the way down the order. Had a shocking start for the Williams. But now Nick is looking to take lead of the race around the outside of turn 2. Gets around turn 3. CRE Detto pushed wide there, barely keeping it on the track. But it is Nick who will lead the charge after a nice overtake to the inside line, getting himself in the mix for race victory. The Williams is doing bits. The Williams is on the attack.
Yeah, looks like 2 Williams on the top there. Got some drivers dropping down. Like, look at Luke, he's big. Looks like already shown what they can do in the race. Become slow. No offense to you, but also you're not the best in the race.
Oh,
As we
the
see some drivers spinning out, losing the car. Fisherhouse AMC Knight and Lugi's Big copying each other there. Round corner, taking too much curve, getting overpowered too much, and losing the car.
trying to go. So now we see two cars side by side. That's OTLR Luke looking to get past the DGK81. Gets it done nicely. Side by side on the exit of turn 11.
Well, it looks like the drivers behind Hodor, well, should I say the William drivers, are ready, you know, they're getting close. Look, 3 tenths, 4 tenths, you know, these drivers are ready to fight. Looks like there's a fight for the top 4 there. That gap to Leon to MZ Knight, Steffo getting bigger and bigger.
These conditions are treacherous, to say the least. They've got to be treacherous, to say the least. The driver's really taking it easy in these opening laps. There is no line, visible line. You can see that water making the track very, very greasy while the drivers use those intermediates to try and disperse that water. That spray is diabolical. But as we know, the intermediates trying to do their job and spread that water out and get rid of it, get it out of the way so that we can produce a bit of a drier line and get that traction on these intermediate tyres. These opening laps running very, very slowly indeed, as the conditions are not the best to be pushing at full throttle. You need to manage your tyres, make sure you don't burn them, even though is it possible to burn them with the track being so wet and greasy, the rain still coming down and pouring down. A bit of a wobble there from CRE Detto, but managing to keep the car under control.
Yeah, it looks like some drivers are really doing well, keeping the car on the track there. As you see, the top 4, or should I say the top 2, hasn't really changed that much, you know. The Williams staying in that top... Oh, virtual safety car.
Virtual safety car, we have an
Safety
issue.
car.
Somebody's fell all the way down to the back of the grid. It is Ghosty. Gets himself going again. We'll wait to see if he's picked up any damage. He may be missing an end plate, but he is. He's missing both end plates. That front wing very severely damaged, opening up a virtual safety car. So you'll have to box and get rid of that wing and put on that new one. Swap those tyres for a bit of fresh rubber, but now the pack has been severely slowed down.
Yep, as we see the drivers kind of close them up back together slowly, but not fast enough. As you see, Hodor and Nick still in that P1 position, but shall we look at the drop positions or gain positions, shall we say?
We certainly can indeed. So position changes. You see Nick moving up one, CRE Detto moving up one. Oh, it's green flags! And Hodor has caught Nick asleep! Hodor, MV1, gets himself past Nick as we go green flags. He was right on the tail and made maximum use of that restart and gets himself ahead. Taking lead of the race once again from Nick. Nick, who did very well in lap 1 to try and fight for that P1 position, has now lost it.
Yeah, it looks like you got caught slacking there, you know, not ready on the power. And also, whilst we talk about the event with Williams, should I say, Luke has had a virtual... No, should I say drive-through for spinning of a virtual safety car.
Oh no, it's a drive-through penalty for OTLR. Luke, there's not a lot you can do other than serve it under his in the next 3 laps, or he will be disqualified from the racing session. As we see Lugia potentially looking to get past. He did get past AMS Knight. He's now back up into P5. Can he get close enough to Leon? Leon certainly showing some impressive pace today. It's a driver's name that I've only just seen arrive in the races today. A new driver looking to set some records, looking to get his name made here in LTLR, getting himself up there into a potential podium position. He's lurking behind in P4, but can he get the traction down and power on for P3? Can he snatch a podium away? OTLR Luke into the pits to serve that drive-through penalty and get himself back into the race.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of a tight one here, you know, but look at Lukey's big. Look at that gap though, up to a P4. So it looks like some drivers are really not liking this condition, shall I say.
Leon is getting dangerously close to CRE Dettel here. Dettel starting to struggle a little bit. Could he be struggling in these greasy conditions? The track being ever so slightly wet, so it's a bit dump. Oh, Ghosty has retired in the pits. Never mind.
Or it could be the pressure, you know. You've got that driver behind you, pushing you, you know. Could be quicker. And you get up to that rear of the car, you know. It could be like, what do I do? I'm going to defend this, but also not be slow enough for the driver behind me to make an easy overtake. I want to challenge this driver and keep my podium spot.
Absolutely, lurking behind, trying to keep the pressure on P3 and potentially take it away. But Dettel is almost dropping a second behind Nick. No DRS, so it doesn't make a factor. The conditions are a little bit greasy, a little bit damp, so the DRS is not enabled. Why would we give you more speed in these conditions? We know you want to see it, but it's not something the FIA can allow. As we get down into turn 1 now. Far on lap 5. 38 laps remaining. Still 30 laps to go in these conditions. And it's going fairly slowly. Ever so slowly for now as Dynamic Duo gets himself to the inside. Bit of contact though between Dynamic Duo and Grealish. Grealish having to back out of it, but Dynamic Duo does gain the place and get himself into a higher points position. P9. Grealish just lurking at the back of the points in P10.
Yeah, up front there as well. Let's remind the drivers up at front. They're the one in a crucial position right now. If they've been it, they'll do drop back behind and lose that position. But some drivers are keeping it nice and calm. As Zettel's got pressure from Leon behind, losing that time to the front two there. As we can see, this wet conditions definitely not doing well for some drivers out here. So we aren't ready for that wet condition. Before we were ready for the dry condition.
The conditions are certainly improving. You can see that line starting to form a little bit. The intermediate tyres doing their job and getting rid of that standing water. So the conditions slightly improving. It's getting a little bit better for everybody on the track. Hopefully putting them in a better position later down the line in the race. The dry line is slightly coming. The spray is dispersing ever so slightly. The track times are improving. You see Nick snatch the fastest lap once again. The lap times going up now, or should I say down in a time, but I think Leon's one to keep our eye on. He's really keeping the pressure on Dettel. Really keeping the pressure on. Dettel has dropped a second behind the front two, but Leon is staying large in the rearview mirror, waiting for his opportunity, waiting for that driver ahead to make a potential mistake, to get himself in a position where he leaves an open door. Leon taking purple sector 1, he is flying out there right now as the reserve driver.
Yeah, but at the back here, we do have a three-way battle for 12 right here. Nobody cares. And then Lankion and PW Jones, they've been fighting. And looks like we've been keeping it close and tight. PW Jones there at the back, keeping it, calm maybe. But we see these is coming back into the distance there. Closing in into the four-way battle now. So let's see who's going to come on top between these drivers, these quite tight track. As they're slowly approaching the driver in front. Camrat Cliff, would it be enough to catch up and make it a five-way battle?
Well, we can only... Oh, my bad. I've disconnected my racing wheel because it was making some very strange noises. But we are back on the track.
Right now? Dettel set the fastest lap.
Dettel certainly looking to try and put some pressure on, certainly looking to try and put some pace down here.
Yeah, looks like he's finally found the grit is finally done. And now he's pushing.
Pushing very hard. That racing line starting to dry up ever so slightly. The driver's starting to get a wriggle on track, starting to get a move on now. But he's still 1 second behind the front two, but he has breached himself a bit of a gap there to Leon. Leon, who was looking to be right on the tail of Dettel, looking to keep the pressure on him, making him large in his mirrors, as Dettel now has dropped the hammer and absolutely sent it round now as we get through turn 6 and 7. The bit of a chicane that can really ruin your race. You don't want to touch those curbs as we get round 8 and 9 now. 9, a corner, you can run it wide and pick up a dry limit. Oh no. Cam Ratcliffe picks up 3 seconds. We went on board with Cam Ratcliffe. We're on board with Dettel, who ran it wide, possibly picking up a warning there.
Yeah,
we see a move there. 2 cars side by side. Tom H looking to put the pressure on DJK. DJK defending with his life as a side by side, and Tom sends it. Absolutely Houston making contact with DJK. Was that a controversial moment? Is that a bit of a racing incident? We can wait to find out as Tom H is still side by side on the final corner, turn 14, as DGK trying to keep it side by side, trying to defend that position. Tom H on the timing boards is technically ahead, but DJK is not letting it go easy. Tom and DJK are still side by side going into turn 1 as they've gone down all the way down the pit straight, side by side, still side by side as they get onto turn 2. Can they send it through nice and bonny, not cause too much contact? This is incredible. They are still side by side. A monumentous battle here for P6 as Tom finally gets ahead into turn 3. That was 5 corners side by side. Absolutely incredible racing though from Tom H and DGK as they go side by side once again as they get into turn 6 and 7. But Tom still trying to battle and keep that position. DJK81 is not letting that go lightly. He's keeping the pressure on. He's really trying to keep himself in the fight. We see yellow flags there as we see AMS Knight has DNF'd. But what is going on at the back of the field? AMS Knight DNFing was on a crash.
I don't know, he's just retired. I'm not sure what really happened.
I think he crashed. We saw yellow flags, but he might have been off the track and the marshals have done a record-breaking job in clearing up that accident, if I say so myself. We were yellow flags for about 13 seconds, if that. Marshals certainly doing their job in these wet conditions, but we look back as Nick, fighting it there with MV1. Back in the lead of the race.
Yeah,
he's had a bit of a slide there and opened the door back up.
As you see, Haldor going down round the outside, that goes down the inside instead, switches it there, but it stays behind. As you see, Nick going a bit wide round that corner.
9 laps in, Nick is really struggling. Nick is tremendously struggling in these conditions. He's sliding around every corner, really fighting the car to the best of his ability, trying to keep it on the track, trying to keep it ahead, really pushing beyond the limits, beyond what he's capable with the current grip levels. All this has done has allowed Dettel to close that gap and get right up to the rear of those drivers. Could potentially put himself in a mix for a P2 or a P1. Although we see MV1 sliding it wide, could have opened the door for Dettel as Dettel there goes to mix it side by side and getting to turn 12. Still side by side with MV1. MV1 is on to concede the position as he sends it through into turn 13, getting the P2 taken away. Wow.
Nice one there, Dettel getting back in action, up to P2, and then out of nowhere, it sends it down the inside and gets that position.
My. Some beautiful racing coming out in lap 9 though. Fighting for positions. When will we see a pit stop? Will we even see a pit stop? What is the tyre degradation like as we see that dry line forming lap after lap after lap? That line. The Nick has had a big slide, but managing to keep it under control. The conditions are treacherous. Is that line now too dry to the point it is burning that rubber, burning those intermediate tyres? We still see spray, and the tyres just not staying cool enough for Nick. Nick is struggling, is he sliding again? He's really fighting that car through every turn, every corner, the back end twitching left and right. Fishtailing as you would, as he tries to get the power down. Dettel lurking behind, closing the gap up, looking to potentially snatch P1 and take control. He may have done the better job being in control of his tyres, keeping tyre management at its finest, as Nick struggles lap after lap on those intermediates.
Yes, it's a kind of a race where it's all about pace all over the race, not about in one small short laps, not 5 laps. It's all about how well can you do in the 35 laps. These drivers are really helping the drivers behind catching up. So we see a battle, almost a 4-way battle there. So we see a driver of PW Jones up the back race spinning with no damage, but these drivers up front are really giving us a show here of what they can do to perform.
I absolutely agree with that, my friend. We have an absolute mighty display of racing and driver skill as we come through these treacherous conditions around a track that has been known to make drivers suffer, even in the dry conditions. So, Leon picks up a 3-second penalty. That's going to affect his race, but he is 3 seconds ahead of Lugi. Lugi now needs to push on to try and snatch that position away.
But again, the conditions being so treacherous, I'm surprised we haven't seen more. These drivers really fighting and struggling to keep the car on the track, to keep the car within the limits. We see Nick struggle quite a lot with getting traction down. He's fishtailing, sending that rear end left and right.
Yeah, looks like Nick's. I don't know who's struggling the most here, but I would say I don't think Nick really is because he's still got that P1 position he got from his teammate. So realistically, I think maybe Holder. He has dropped 2 positions so far. It's started to show some weak pace, but he's climbing back up to the order now, on the tail of Nick now. So we can see what he can do for the past few laps.
MV1 taking fastest lap. The conditions still ever improving out on the track as we can see the lap times going down and down and down. We see drivers improve on their laps, but 12 laps in, setting a new fastest lap on used intermediate tyres only tells you how much the conditions are improving on the track, or can only confirm how much the line is now drying out, all that standing water being dispersed. It is still a bit greasy. See the MV, he's cooling those tyres down. So that dry line is now getting to a point where the tyres are starting to burn ever so slightly. We just saw MV1 move onto the damp part of the track, cooling those tyres down just a little bit more to make them last a bit longer, preserve that tread to go 1 lap extra.
Yeah, it would definitely help those drivers out a bit, but the only problem is, if you want to go on a dry line, the only place you can really do is on the straights, probably, because that's the most room you've got to cool down the tyres. Through corners, you always want to take that best line, that exit and re-entry, but on that straight, you can always cool down your tyres for the leftover, should I say, rain on the track, the wet, the waterness on there.
Yeah, the slick conditions on the tarmac could have certainly put you in a treacherous position. It is still coming down ever so slightly. It's dribbling, it's spitting, if you would. It's spitting, everybody, it's spitting. But looking on, the drivers certainly seem to be getting an improvement in their pace, a huge improvement in their pace. Oh, Nick, once again with a slide. He's struggling with that, getting the power down. The conditions still not to his liking, but he's doing fairly well to stay out in the lead.
Yeah, looks like some drivers can't really push it that hard. You don't want to push it that hard around this track. But Nick, we have seen some signs of him struggling, but he's still not opening that gap for Datto to get through and take that P1 position.
Absolutely correct. Still struggling ever so slightly and trying to get past Nick. Nick's doing well to hold it, but we have seen him. We certainly have seen him get a bit squirrely and a bit wobbly on his exits as such. So it certainly is one of those positions where he could only hope to make a move and get himself into a potential race winning position. Hopefully get himself ahead of Nick as he sees Nick struggle with getting the traction down, with getting the power down. Can he do it? Can he just maintain the... Oh, there again! Nick struggling getting the traction down, that rear end sliding. Certainly opens the door for Dettel to come. Look, he's got the speed. He's going to send it to the outside line now into turn 1. Making it side by side, but can he get the move done? Nick trying to defend it, defending it hard. Does stay ahead and maintain the lead of the race. They are fighting away as much as they can. Really trying to put the pressure on is Dettel. He can see himself getting ahead. He knows that Nick has been burning away the rubber every slide, burning off that tread that he may need. But see Harry Dettel's had a bit of a moment there, potentially opened the door for Hodor. MV1 just lurking behind.
Yeah, well, I think the pressure's getting to Nick here, you know. He's already used... I think he's pushing the car a bit too hard. He's losing the traction, the car, out of the exits, as we see through that first sector. It really didn't help Nick, I would say, but I think Holder cooling down his tyres definitely helped him a lot, you know, trying to gain back that time he lost with 2 of the drivers in front.
Absolutely correct, mate. You see he's trying to maintain the tyre wear, trying to manage those tyres in a way we can use them later on in the stint as the front two battle away. Hodor was managing those tyres and he's waiting for his opportunity now as we see Dell make it side by side in 13, but backside of it, Hodor, MV1, is going to start off the pit stop procedures as he dives into the pits, looking to hopefully what could be a fresh set of intermediate tyres. Does manage to stop on the pit line. Doesn't pick up a penalty which could severely diminish his race, severely affect his race in the long run.
Yeah, but
He's a fresh set of
right
inters.
now, it's between the front runners here because these two have been battling hard for the past few laps, and whoever gets in front.
Ooh, Nick again struggling.
Would have that advantage, should I say? Oh,
Nick is struggling, potentially opening the door. He's sliding around every corner. Those tyres are not doing it for Nick anymore. The Williams driver is seriously struggling to keep the lead of the race, to keep himself out in the lead. He's really struggling there. The tyres just might not have it. He's set up, maybe just burned too much of his tread, burned too much of the tyre life that he may need later on as we get to the end of the first stint. We saw Luger, MV1 go into the box.
These two are having an awesome battle, but one's pushing it a bit too hard. Detto really needs to get past Nick because right now Nick's not showing the best performance he had in the race. As we see Nick going to the pits now, Detto don't go into the pits, and we see someone round. I'm pretty sure that was Luke going round. He's got no end plate.
Oh, Luke picking up damage, getting himself into a bit of an issue though. Missing that front right end plate as he comes round sector 2 now. Getting himself around turn 9. Comes around turn 10 and again 11. A place where you need front downforce. You need that front grip. But Nick obviously needing to box to try and cover off that undercut, which has been done to perfection by MV1. As Leon now inherits a place away from Nick, so does DJK taking a position away from Nick as Nick's gone into the box. But Nick having that fresher rubber will have the better grip now as he sends it to the outside line of DJK, trying to get the move done in the early part of his second stint, trying to get the position back. He doesn't want to be held up by the used tyres that are on DJK's car there. He needs to get it done, which he has done perfectly. A bit of contact, but managing to keep it clean in a way and keeping himself on the track. Oh, we have a retirees in the pits.
In the pits. No, nothing to be worried about.
D Summers and Luke in the pits.
Yeah, so looks like the undercut has really worked for Holder, you know, but still waiting for Dettel to pit. It hasn't pitted yet. But is it a one stop or a two stop? I think these drivers have pitted a bit too early if they want to go for a one stop, you know, equal out the balance of the tyres.
Well, with Hodor boxing early and Dettel still managing to maintain a semi-decent pace out there on the used intermediate tyres, it's going to open the door. See Hodor, they're setting the fastest lap of 25.3.
I think that's by 2 seconds as well.
At least 2 seconds, I believe. The last fastest lap was in the 27, so that's a 2 second improvement on the fastest lap. That fresher rubber certainly doing the bits for MV1. But Dettel is still maintaining a decent pace. He will have the better tyres at the end of the stint. At the end of the race, he will have the extended tyre life as he's still pushing the intermediate tyres. He's still on another lap. He's gone 2 laps more than MV1, 1 lap more than Nick. Nick now looking to try and catch up to the back of Leon. That fresher rubber should feel dramatically better for Nick, especially considering we saw him struggling in the first stint. We saw him at the end of his first stint, almost ran it wide there. Almost ran it wide there at turn 5. He's coming around turns 6 and 7 now, keeping it on the track. The conditions have improved, but it is still fairly greasy, still fairly damp. The car's still running wide and struggling with the conditions.
Yeah, as we see Hodor catching up there, should I say, MV1 is caught up by a second and a half. And right now, I've got the lap data for Dettel, so when he crossed the line, we can see how much of a difference there is between the old tyres and the new tyres for Inters, as it is on 128. So, as Hodor is gaining about 2 or 3 seconds on Dettel on those new, fresher tyres. So you can definitely see how much of an improvement that new tyres is compared to the old tyres.
Dettel could be holding out for a safety car. Oh, apologies for
We
my
could,
yawn.
we could, but we've seen some drivers spin out. But we've had no safety cars, only yellow flags, and a virtual safety car
3 second
at
warning
the
for Andres.
start. Right now, if one of the top two, if Nick, I think if Hodor gets that penalty or Dettel, it could ruin their race a lot.
Absolutely correct. But MV is closing and closing. That fresher rubber, those fresh intermediate tyres, certainly working at this part of the race. But Dettel still has gone 3 laps longer. So if he boxes at the end of this lap, he will have the fresher tyre at the end of the race. But will those 3 laps make the difference? Will they benefit him as much as he'd like to? We can only hope that this is a strategic masterclass from Dettel as he does enter the pit lane to get off those used intermediates. 18 laps on those tyres, doing fairly well. What a mighty stint indeed. Now comes into swap, but now all eyes are on the runners who have already boxed. Nick is coming around final corner. He will be jumped all the way to P5, or P4 should I say. But can Lugi do anything to respond? As Lugi boxed, we shall take a quick look at the tyres to see what the situation is. Lugi has boxed 2 lap olds, but Dettel is out in front of Lugi just as he gets out of the pit lane down into turn 1.
Yep, so he's now dropped 4 positions, but he could be fighting Lugi, like you did say, you're pretty sure. But it's definitely going to be an interesting race towards the end, you know. He's going to hold out on those tyres, he's going to perform better. But right now, Dettel does have those fresher new tyres, but he just has to gain 3 more positions to get that P1 spot again, which he had.
He will have the fresher tyres like you say, but it's not by a lot. It's only by 4 laps to MV. But those 4 laps could make all the difference in the closing stint. He just needs to get himself close enough. Now he needs to make the moves. Now he needs to gain all that time back. Now.
Yeah, it really shows how powerful the undercut is, really, shall I say. If you do pit with someone on the older tyres, you know, with new tyres, definitely would help you perform. But if you pit with an overcut, the overcut really is not that powerful as you do have the same pressure tyres, the same drivers, but not by much.
Absolutely, I understand. But
If you understand what I said.
yeah, and understood exactly what you mean, mate. Having the fresher tyres, the undercut is mighty powerful, especially in the current conditions. That fresh rubber meant all the difference for MV as he came out of the pits. Certainly dropped that delta time down massively. But the conditions are treacherous. The conditions are scary in a way. Drivers really trying to take it carefully as the conditions are ever changing and unpredictable. We see another driver picking up a penalty. D Summers has picked up 3 seconds, so not looking good in terms of penalties. If some drivers can keep it clean, i.e. Grellis, PW Jones, could potentially make some improvements there. Lugi 3 seconds, oh no, so 3 second time penalty dropping him down the order. If he was to help his teammate in terms of constructors and in terms of getting the Williams into the fight for a potential race victory, they had the 2 and 3 lockout in qualifying. But Lugi is having a stinker in these conditions. The conditions certainly not working to his advantage.
Yeah, it's not really helping that much, you know, the overcut. It really shows how not powerful it is, but MV1 there using that wet line again, which showed its performance on the old stint, the first stint, should I say, but Tesla has just not been able to catch up to the drivers in front.
No, he's not. He seems to be having a bit of an issue there. He's dropped a second. Just a second. So the earlier pit stop strategy certainly has worked in favour of MV and Nick. They're managing to maintain that gap ahead of Dettel. But again, it comes down to the closing laps for Dettel's strategy to unfold. Has he done what he needed to do? Did he box within an adequate time to put himself in a potential race victory position? He went 3 laps later. That's a huge margin as we saw that gap open up for MV and Nick as they came out on the fresher rubber, certainly able to get the grip and the traction on those laps and open up the gap massively while Dettel was struggling. Oh, we see a DNF we see a retire in the pits once again. DJK is out of it. He's had enough. He's going to bed.
Yeah, nappy boys. Time to forget about this horrible race, should I say? Hungary in the wet. I don't think anybody enjoys it. It's a nice track of a drive, but in the wet, it's a horrible place to try and control the car, should I say?
Absolutely correct. Certainly is one of those tracks where can certainly make things difficult for you and put you in a troublesome position. It's treacherous in the dry, let alone in the wet. It's even worse in the wet conditions. Ever treacherous, even more dangerous. These tight corners, twisty sections of claimed drivers and claimed penalties. As you see Luke there picking up a 3-second penalty. He's had a drive-through and now he's slapped on the wrist with a 3-second track limit penalty. Not going good for Luke.
Yeah, but right now I think it's a hard one, you know. I think Kettle's faster by a few tenths, maybe 5 or 6, but Hodor's like slowing down. But Kettle's still like 125s as a MV1. MV1 is still in that, well, it's in 26, should I say?
Yeah, MV is still getting the power down, still doing bits, but Nick is lurking now behind Leon. He's close enough. Can he get himself into a potential position where he can snatch that P2 away? Doing it for the Williams boys as Lugie's teammate, who was also qualifying P3, should I say, getting himself into what could have been a Williams masterclass. He's struggling out here in the wet conditions. Lugie, a man who's at a podium position, will not see himself on the podium today.
Yeah, right now there's no fights at all. It's just spread out grid. But Nick is catching up to Leon. But the only reason, if he wants to overtake Leon, if he wants to go after MV1. But let's see what he does after overtaking Leon, because Leon does about a 3-second time penalty. So that would be horrible to have that as well.
It is terrible to have that extra 3-second penalty as we see Dettel almost within that 3 seconds. Could potentially take that away from Leon if he can get close enough. Just about 7/10 separates him. 6/10, 7/10 separating him from a potential podium position. As we look at the delta there, as Nick now tries to get the overtake done, as he does get the overtake done on Leon. Leon had a bit of a moment there opening the door for Nick, and Nick passes on through. Beautifully done. We see yellow flags. It's a dynamic duo retiring in the pits. So we have 5 drivers who can no longer endure the track conditions, can no longer deal with these treacherous weather conditions, and have chose to call it a day. Now, if you ask me, that seems like a skill issue.
Yep, he was right in the points, and he said, "Nope, I think my mummy's telling me to go bed," so he's gone to nappy bath.
Nappy buys. He's off to sleep to catch some Z's. He's had enough. Can't endure these conditions. I quite enjoy a wet race personally. I think it certainly sets the standard of who is a decent driver and who can only be a dry weather driver. If you can race in the wet cleanly and efficiently, it's kind of fun. When you're zoned in and you're focused and you're fighting the car left, right and centre, trying to just keep it on the track. I certainly get a lot of enjoyment from that. But Leon has picked up another 3-second penalty, certainly handing that podium to Dettel. But Dettel is 2 seconds behind. This pit stop strategy could have worked in his favour. But MV1 is almost 4 seconds ahead of Nick. So he still has quite the margin to gain for P1. He still has 6 seconds at least to gain to get himself into P1.
Yeah, it's quite scary as we see some tracks coming off, some people going off the track, you know. We never know when it could be a penalty or a warning, you know, and it could defo ruin their race a lot out there if they don't handle the track limits, you know, keep it nice and clean on the track. As we see so much drivers, you know, struggling a lot with track limits.
Absolutely, mate. A lot of drivers are struggling with the track limits, but the conditions have not dramatically improved like we expect they would. That dry line certainly appeared, but the rain is still trickling down. It is still keeping the track greasy, keeping it ever so slick, just so that the intermediate tyres can't get that optimum grip. They're trying very hard, but Nick is still fighting that car, lap after lap. Dettel now looking to get a move done on Leon. Leon certainly dropping down the field. He does. He's side by side on the around the outside of turn 4. That was beautiful from Dettel. Dettel getting the move away from getting the move done and getting ahead of Leon. So now it is all systems go. He's push for the next 10 laps to try and get himself up into a race victory. He will have the better tyres at the end of the race, but can he use them to his advantage? Can he do it? He's got the optimum strategy. 6 seconds to drop that delta, 7 seconds almost, as MV using that clean air bridges that gap, that lead ever more.
Yeah, you don't really need to, you know, focus on any drivers, you know, you don't have to fight any. As the drivers behind do, we need to focus who's behind and who's in front, you know. Got to keep that position, focus, and stay calm. It's all about pressure, pressure, and pressure on these drivers. Who can handle the pressure the best? Who can keep it calm on the track in this wet condition around Hungary? As hold on, the only question is this guy is about the drivers behind him, not in front, because he's the leader. He needs to worry about who's catching up to him. As we see, Leon does hit for the new Inters. I'm not sure that's the smartest idea with 9 laps to go now.
Well, certainly will benefit with fresher tyres, certainly have the pace down. He will potentially take the fastest lap of the race on those fresh tyres. But as we saw in the Twitch chat, outside of turn 4 in wet conditions, very nice. That was lovely indeed, lovely done by CRE Dettel. Dettel putting the pressure on, has dropped a second to the front 2. So can he keep the pressure on? Can he get ahead? We see him passing back markers there. Andres being lapped.
Yeah, but right now, who do you think is going to win?
Well, he's closing. He is closing to Nick, the Williams driver. He could be under tremendous pressure here from Dettel. I think Dettel is going to get the P2. I mean, 4 seconds is quite a margin to gain with 9 laps to go. So almost 5 seconds.
We have seen somebody pull about 12 seconds to the person in P2, which was last week in Bahrain. If you did miss that, you can watch it on YouTube to watch back the replay of that amazing race.
Absolutely correct. Bahrain last week certainly was a banger, certainly one to watch, which certainly introduced a mix in the drivers in the standings and in terms of constructors. But right now, it's looking like Nick could be the one to try and defend the lion that is CRE Delta, who opted for a later pit stop and seems to be coming out on top. Seems to be able to push the grip limits a little bit more. Doesn't need to worry about those tyres as much as Nick does. MV being one of the first to box, so certainly putting himself down in the order. We'll take another look quickly at the tyre situation to see where people are. So 8 laps on those intermediates for Dettel, 11 for Nick and 12 for MV. So, like we say, 3 laps, fresher tyres for Dettel to Nick and 4 laps to MV, as Dettel is mighty close now. Almost had a look there coming through turn 10, but now as we get round turn 12, he's still behind, but very close.
The gap's getting bigger and bigger to MV1, so this is definitely helping out MV1, but these two fighting, it's definitely put the danger on the road here, you know. We will have collision with a crash, but you never know. This is an important position for P2, to get a P2 standing on the podium there, to get that more extra points on that standings.
Absolutely correct. Dettel, had a look there, but backed out of it into turn 1. He's desperate to get past.
Smart choice, yeah. It's smart choice there, backing out. If you didn't back out, defo would have been a collision, you know, and defo would have took Nick out of that race. And you see Leon getting that fastest lap with about 124.
So I called it earlier where Leon, he boxes now. He's definitely going to get the fastest lap and snatch it away from what could potentially be the leader, the race winner, getting an extra point. But Leon is going to deny the fastest lap and stays in P4. He's not really lost anything. Fresher tyres up against Luger. It's going to be child's play for Leon. He just needs to maintain now. He'll have the better grip. He has the grip advantage against Lugi. Lugi, I don't think, could respond as he boxed later. We see Dettel still lurking right on the rear. And Nick is defending that position like a champion. Really trying to keep himself on the podium there into P2. But again, the harder he pushes, the more they fight, the further away MV1 gets. The gap, almost 7 seconds now. Every lap, a second gained as Nick and Dettel fight away for P2.
Yeah, this is reminding me of a 2021, you know. Perez defending off Max Verstappen for the lead as you got Lewis Hamilton trying to get past Checo. But we're just doing some teamwork there, you know. Some team play there, defending off Dettel to get closer and closer to everyone as he goes
sends
down
it
the
side by
inside.
side into turn one.
Bit of a slide there, but he carries his speed into turn one, down to turn two now. Turn three, he's gonna have a better turning as Dettel goes round the outside. Nick's keeping that position. Bit of a contact there on my end wing as Nick stays on that P1 position.
Nick defending like a lion, really trying to keep that P2 position, keeping Dettel behind, making sure that Dettel does not gain the advantage. We saw he was pushed onto that wet, damp part of the track and just got a bit slidey with a little bit of contact. But they kept it clean, and Dettel is still lurking right on the rear diffuser of IRT Nick. The Williams driver in trouble from Dettel. Dettel making himself large and keeping the pressure on Nick. This is incredible racing, especially in the track conditions we are faced with. It is treacherous to Nick with a big slide. Could open the door for Dettel. Dettel takes that opportunity and says, thank you very much. I'll take an open door. You open the door for me and I'm going for it. But Nick is defending, really defending around turns 12. 13, still in defensive, but it looks like Dettel could potentially get the move done as he does get ahead into turn 13 as we come around 14 now. Mighty battle in there for P2, but it has again allowed MV1 to gain another second.
Yeah, I remember that gap from being 5 seconds now to 8 seconds. So them two fighting, defo, you know, showed a performance of what's it like to battle and have clean air, you know. But Nick, we can kind of see he's dropping already. Dettel's so intense now. So we can see there's bit of a fresher tyre life. Defo helping him out on the dry, well, should I say wet track actually, not the dry track.
Can he gap him now though? That's the question. Can Dettel use those fresher tyres to his advantage, or has he been battling for too long, being stuck behind Nick as he burnt out his tyres, as he lost that fateful rubber, that tread that he may need, that tyre life for towards the end of the stint. It is 9/10 now, the gap. And he's dropped half a second to MV. Can he get on it? 5 laps remaining. I doubt he can get himself up into P1. MV1 now just needs to keep it clean, keep it safe and bring it home as CRE Dettel pushes to the limit to try and get into a race winning position.
Yeah, but right now it's a 5-lapper. So I don't think Dettel has it. He's cashing, but by not enough.
No, I think the deficit's just too high. The pace deficit may be just too high. Even if he was to go full push now all the way and try, slide down to turn one, locking up those rear tyres, controlled it well, but could have potentially let Nick come back in. He doesn't. It was a drift, and he's managed to maintain the gap, if not extend that gap. It was kind of nice coming into turn one. Bit of a slide, Tokyo driftings, as you were. But Lugi, 10 seconds in the pace. I think he's going to retire.
Yeah, maybe he can grab that fastest lap, though, because he won't lose any position, I'm pretty sure. No, he's not retiring. He's going for the...
Nick, 3 seconds! That's huge!
I don't think it really is, because he's losing that time to Dettel. And Leon behind, does that have that 6-second penalty? So... right now, that penalty don't really affect anywhere, really, should I say. But Dettel's losing that time to MV1, but it's looking kind of close.
It is looking mighty close, but if Nick had any hopes of potentially taking back that P2, it has been crushed by that 3 seconds.
Yeah, if he had a chance, but right now we know who the man's on the freshest tyres, which is Dettel, most freshest tyres by a few laps. So we've got 4 more laps left. What can these people do in these laps? You know,
In the closing laps, can we see anything interesting happen? I don't think a lot's going to change. The gaps are quite high, the margins are quite large, as we see Dettel coming past back runners, lapping drivers. I believe it's Cam Ratcliffe. P10 being lapped by P2. That is CRE Dettel. Dettel really driving efficiently and effectively. That strategy has worked completely in his favour. He manages to get P2 and still sits on the podium, and he did box later. So that was a bit of a strategic masterclass there. He lost the time at the start of the stint, but gained it all back at the end of the stint. It was MV1 with the early call to box earlier that has managed to gain quite a large gap, but it is dropping. I just don't think it's dropping enough. Dettel is just out of it.
yeah, that undercut really showed that it's very powerful. You know, it's very helpful to these drivers. You know, if they get that undercut, you'll know you're done for.
Absolutely
right
correct.
now,
MV1 has completely
how
benefited, like you
powerful it
say. That undercut has just completely worked, completely and utterly. It was the perfect strategy call to make. But the delta is dropping dramatically. He's just gained too much for it to drop enough for Dettel to respond in any way.
But it still depends on the last lap, you know. Will it get big or close? It really is an interesting race, you know. It's about how the style, how you race, you know. Will you save your battery or will you burn? But I'm giving info out here. I am allowed to, so nobody chit chat about to me, you know. But Dattel has been using ERS everywhere. He's draining as MV1 is on that high battery.
So see Dettel pushing to the limits to try and drop that delta time and potentially get himself into a race winning position. Pushing, using the battery, using the ERS, maximising the grip. He's got the tyre life. He does have the ability to do it. They are fresher than the race leader, but he's just not dropping the delta enough. 4 seconds. It's just, I don't think it's going to be enough. Unless MV1 has a dramatic moment, he's just not going to be close enough in the final lap.
But right now, I can't lie, Tettel's doing a great job, you know. He's being greedy on that ERS, but hasn't made a mistake at all yet. So think about it. In the rain, with that ERS, you're kind of a guaranteed to slip out, you know. Got too much power down, and you're just losing traction out of the exit. But he's keeping it nice and calm, collected with that battery usage he's doing right now.
That's good. He's nice to manage it, but he doesn't. Again, it's 2 laps to go. 4 seconds is quite a margin, even if he does have the fresher tyres. It's Leon who is on the fresher compound tyre than Nick in front, and he is only 1.7 away. So could Leon potentially be on the attack for IRT Nick, the Williams driver, looking to defend? But we'll take a look at the penalties to see if it would make a difference. Would it make the difference?
I don't think it will.
Oh no! 3
That
seconds for
ruins his
Dettel, but I
race.
doubt he would have caught anyway.
He might have caught, but he looks like he is. But Defo relieves some stress on MV1 there, though.
MV1 has been handed the win on lap 34. Unless there is a serious dramatic moment for MV1, he's been gifted race victory though, as Dettel just ran it a bit too wide, picked up that last track limit warning and gets slapped on the wrist with 3 seconds. But Dettel, he's dropped the delta to below 3 seconds now to MV1. That tyre advantage is huge. It's huge. He's gaining like a missile. 2.4 seconds between MV1 and Dettel. Leon now making the move on Nick with... Oh no, Nick's trying to defend it. Nick is not going to let it go easy. Oh, Leon gets it done though. Leon getting it done into 14. Does get ahead. Takes it on the track. But he is 3 seconds in penalties ahead of Nick. Can he get 3 seconds now? Can he push and bridge 3 seconds and potentially steal a podium?
He might already. He's already gained a second, so.
It's 1 lap. 1 lap. 3 seconds. He does have the fresher tyres.
I think he does. Didn't he pit? Yeah, he's got. Look at the tyre difference by 10 laps.
The tyre difference is huge. It's massive. Can Leon use that? It's only 1 lap. It's the final lap, the penultimate lap. Can he gain it?
2 seconds. Leon's pushing it.
Oh my god, he's really, really pushing it to the limit. It's 1.9 and going bigger. 2.1 seconds. Can he do it? Can Leon do it? This is incredible stuff. 2.3, 2.5, 2.6. Leon is really sending it. He could have stole the podium. 3 seconds.
3.2.
I don't believe it.
In 1 lap. 3.4.
I don't believe it. Leon, on the final lap, has overtook. Oh no, we see a driver off into the wall. One of the back markers.
Oh, everyone is left. Does that count as a win?
MV1 has been disconnected, but he will cross the line as the race victor, as Dettel almost caught him though. When it's Leon now, all eyes are on Leon. He bridged the gap. He is going to get it. He's going to snatch the podium away. Leon sits on the podium, snatching it away from the Williams driver of Nick on the final lap. That was absolutely incredible.
It really was. The final lap, and he pulled, what, 5 seconds?
He absolutely pushed it on that last lap. Those fresh intermediate tyres completely worked in his favour. And he bridged 5 seconds to Nick on the final lap. 2.3 is the delta, but the penalty has already been taken off as Lugi crosses the line for P5. And we go on board with Tom H now, who was 31 seconds behind, coming to finish in P6 as he gets around turn 12. I am blown away by Leon there in this final lap, snatching that podium away from Nick. He had the tyres. That was a master strategy call to get himself that P3 spot. Fantastic driving from the reserve driver.
The one question is, does that count as a win for MV1? He left the session, his AI crossed the line.
Yes, I should do. He's completed more laps himself than under AI, so he should stand. Grealish P7, PW Jones just crossing the line in P8. Oh, it was OTLR Luke. It was Luke who went off into the wall and picked up a puncher. Oh, wow.
One wheel in the air.
Look at that, limping home. Fair play. Limps across the line for P9. Wow. What a race finish.
I can't lie, that final lap was very intense. You know, Leon grabbing that gap bigger and bigger to win it with those penalties. And MV1 disconnecting and still grabbing the win there as well.
So MV1 winning his first race here in OTLR, putting himself up there in the driver's standings. CRE Detto, reserve driver, snatching P2. Another reserve driver, Leon, P3, making up your podium sitters. William driver Nick, qualifying P2, didn't quite make it and got knocked down to P4. Lugi, P5, Tom H, P6, Grelis in P7, PW Jones in P8, Luke in P9. We saw Luke then limping home. He was the driver that we saw go flying off on the last lap and into the wall, blasting that rear left tyre apart and limped it across the line for P9. And Lanky getting it there into P10. That will do your top 10s. Just getting outside of the points with Cam Ratcliffe, Andres, D Summers, and then the DNFs. Well, D Summers being one of the DNFs. Dynamic Duo, DJK, Snowbody Curse, AMS Knight, and BRT Ghosty. But what an interesting race. The conditions not being nice to our drivers.
What did you think about the race?
The race was mighty spicy, mighty interesting, something that I was not expecting to see. But now we move on to the interviews. We get our drivers into the interviews. If you would like to be interviewed, get yourself into the interview waiting room and we shall drag you in for your interviews, boys. That was a mighty fine race to watch.
I will tag the boys if you want me to.
Leon and who was it? It was Leon,
MV1 and
MV,
and
and
oh, what are we say about it then?
Dettel.
Sorry, better, yeah.
That he's not called Dettel.
Dettel, oh yeah, but not Battle. Dettel.
He's not called Dettel in the Discord. So what's he called?
I'm not
Is it CRE Vettel? Is that the
No.
joke?
No.
Let me just check the attendance and try and figure this one out.
CRE, Vettel, Dettel. I don't see Dettel.
Not entirely sure, but guys, if you would like to be interviewed, get yourselves into the waiting room channel and we will drag you in. But as we patiently await to see if anybody would like to be interviewed, what do you think of that? Very interesting race.
I think the first stint was alright, but the last stint, you cannot deny, but that last stint was amazing, down to the last bit. Perfect. Just perfect. Very interesting. Just, it's just, after seeing a perfect race, you're like, what a race. It was amazing.
I do apologise for that little delay. We're trying to get people into the waiting room if they want the interviews. If not, I'll give you another 30 seconds and then I'm going to call it at that. We do have the race winner, so I will bring him in as we await to see if anybody else is looking for an interview. If nobody else is, we shall just interview your race winner and go from there. We've been waiting long enough for you guys to get yourselves in here, so I think I'm just going to go on with MV1. What a race, mate.
man.
You got
Thanks, man. Thanks, man.
pole position and with a nice masterclass strategy, getting that undercut and snatching the victory. You gapped by 8 seconds there in the final stint. It was very lovely to see, but CRE Dettel, aka Vettel as he's known in the Discord, was coming like a missile at the end there on the fresher tyres. Did you feel it at all under any pressure until he picked up that penalty? Do you think he were going to catch you?
100%. Honestly, when I boxed for new inters, right, I had a huge undercut on P1 and P2, and at that point, I thought I was gonna run away with it, and then I was about half a lap down on fuel, and I also had to manage my rear left because it was like at the end of the race, I think it was 76%, so it was insane. But when I saw he was like gaining about like 5 tenths or like 8 tenths a lap, then I definitely was under pressure a bit there.
Yeah, we was watching there, trying to keep ourselves on board to potentially snatch that win away from yourself. It got mighty close. Did you disconnect at the end though? But you still managed to get the victory. Your AI crossing the line for you. But you still managing to get victory, which is lovely stuff. Lovely to see it. And it was a mighty fine race from yourself. That qualifying was beautiful as well. You're certainly setting the benchmark high as what to expect as a driver from yourself here in OTLR. Certainly proving to be one of the faster guys. So you're getting yourself nicely up there in the standings and potentially putting pressure on the current driver standings leaders, should I say. So nice to see you up in the mix, mate.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man.
Congratulations on a race victory. I'll pass you on to Rob. Anything to add, Rob?
No, but congrats on that P1. It's very definitely interesting race on that last stint.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks. It was hard work, but got it done, you know.
Beautiful stuff, beautiful stuff. I saw Leon try and come in and then disconnect. If you can hear me, Leon, try again. Let's see if we can get you back in. If not, we can leave it at that.
Alrighty. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
All right, so yeah, I think we're just going to call it at that. But thank you all for watching. Oh no, wait, he's in the waiting room. Leon. Dragged him in.
Oh no, he's just gone back and
Oh, right, so he's not allowing it, unfortunately. A couple of technical issues there. Discord having a bit of a funny one. But we shall end it at that, and what a mighty fine race it has been. Thank you, Rob, for joining me as always, doing the core comms. It's nice to have you here in the booth with us. And we shall see you in the next race. What did we say it was? Austria, I believe. I can't remember. Let me pull up the calendar real quick and have a bit of an Aussie. It's not, it's Italy. We head over to Imola.
Imola.
One of my least favourite tracks to race on, but I enjoy setting laps in TT around there. Definitely, it's one of those tracks where you can really send it and get a bit of enjoyment, especially as you get down through Acqua Minerale. The elevation changes certainly mix things up. But we shall see you next week for another round of racing action again around the mighty track of Imola. But thank you all for watching, and on that note, good night. And we'll cut.